Rainy days don't seem so wet. Stormy nights don't stay. From the moment that we met, you were worth the wait. Oh, this could be the best thing that I'll ever know. Best thing that I'll ever know.
Hello, hello, hello. I keep hearing something. I don't know what I'm hearing. It's my neighbor across the street mowing his yard with a riding mower. Okay. Alrighty. How was your day? It is 6:02 p.m. on Thursday, May the 1st. I went to the doctor and he said that these are healing. And where's that? This one. And these two are healing just like they're supposed to be. And I go back on the 6th to have them checked out again, plus to have a complete physical. It happens every time. So at the request of my moderator, we are going to go through Robert the doll. He is said to be the most haunted doll. Let's go meet him. Okay, present, share screen, window, open, share. There is our fair use disclaimer so that we can have that. It's going to be May. It's May 1st. Hey, Manda Panda. Okay, so I have 7 videos to go through that Backstreet was. Are you going to the concert? I was a little before their time. Okay, so let's pull up the first video. This is from where did it go? See, it looks different now. Well, it's a YouTube video. Toshiba 1982. So okay, I'll watch that after we're offline. Okay, and here, let me put the link here. Yeah, I don't want to get copyrighted. All right.
As a child, who hasn't dreamed of a favorite doll or a teddy bear coming to life and being a very best friend forever and ever? Robert Eugene Otto had a doll who stayed with him his whole life, an artist and his muse in eccentric Key West, Florida. This doll was given to the 6-year-old Robert Eugene by the family's Bahamian maid, who was said to practice voodoo. It was the perfect likeness of the young boy and was even named Robert after him. As a young boy, Eugene developed a strange fascination with Robert. He spent long hours alone with his doll, talking to it. And when anything went wrong at home, Eugene always knew who to blame. It was Robert, he would tell his parents. Robert did it. Robert did it. Eugene Otto became one of the most celebrated artists in this famous artists' colony. His fame grew beyond the southerly Keys, as did his wealth. He preferred to paint in seclusion, alone, indoors, and with Robert always by his side. Eugene settled down with his wife Anne here at the artist's house close to Duval Street in Key West. Robert, of course, went with them. Anne disliked the doll from the moment she first
Wish
saw
I
it.
could move like
It gave
that.
her chills just to look at it, and she didn't like her husband's obsession with it.
She's pretty.
Still, she humored him, and Robert was given a room of his very own,
Yeah, I think so.
away in the attic. There he stayed until Eugene told his wife that Robert was angry and demanding a room with a view. Despite Anne's objections, he moved Robert out of the attic and down to the turret room. Robert was seated at the window looking out over the street. Children on their way to school said they saw Robert through the windows moving about the turret room, glowering at them. Inside the house, Eugene became increasingly irrational and violent, smashing things and lashing out at his wife and screaming like a madman. And then all of a sudden, he would be himself again, and he would always say exactly the same thing. It was Robert. Robert did it. Robert's influence seemed to grow stronger and stronger. A plumber working alone in the turret room with Robert fled the house in terror. He later said he'd heard Robert giggling. Other visitors swore that Robert's expression changed when they looked at him. Sometimes they said that he looked like pure evil. Eugene became sicker and sicker, becoming so despondent he locked himself away in the turret room until he finally died with Robert the doll by his side. Free at last, Anne fled the house, leaving Robert behind in the attic. The new owners discovered him soon after moving in. They took one look at Robert and knew that this, whatever it was something they definitely didn't want in their home.
You want it? You want that doll?
Robert ended up here, awaiting visitors in the East Martello Museum, where
He's
he
a
holds
really
an
cute
eerie
doll.
fascination for everyone who sees him. Visitors to the museum, completely ignorant of this strange story, have been shocked as the expression on his face apparently changed before their very eyes. A psychic investigator said that Robert's soul is slowly dying, his hair turning white as he grows older. Today, the artist's house where Robert once lived is a guest house. Stay a night if you will. Go ahead. He's still here, in the darkest recesses of the
I'd
attic,
like to
say the
spend the
staff,
night in that
to
house.
avoid coming up here.
That'd be cool.
And after her death, Eugene's wife
I forgot I need to put some music on. Just for the copyright thing. Let's see. We did. Let's do channel 13. Don't ya lose yourself. I do too. I want to stay in the house. I'd love to go spend the night in that house. And Missouri's not that far away. Oh, they're in Florida, Key West, Florida. I forgot.
Wife Anne appeared here too. Her ghost stalks the turret room. Anne is trapped here now with Robert, the doll. And as for Robert, the artist, he tragically discovered that the things we love to possess sometimes end up possessing us.
That's interesting. Welcome to the chat. Please take a moment to hit that like button. If you're not, please consider subscribing. That's the free way to support the channel. Thank you very much for being here. I don't know who the second person in chat is. Okay, now we're going to go to South Florida PBS, the new Florida producer. And it says, Robert, the haunted doll, rules after dark at Florida East Martello Museum in Key West. Mandy, we got to go to Florida. Oh, I'm on the wrong page. Sorry. Robert the doll is over 100 years old and resides in a glass case at Fort East Martello Museum. Since he has come to live at the fort, many strange events have been reported. Blame it on Robert has become a well-known excuse. No, I don't think they'll let us do that, but I'd love to. I'd like to just go stay in the house. If the woman and him are both in the spirits are both in the house, that would be so awesome.
It is said that Key West is haunted by ghosts of the past. The town is full of stories centered around ghost ships, mutinous pirates, and haunted forts. But perhaps the most peculiar spirit is not of a person or a place, but of a beloved object.
I think one of the creepiest ones in Key West has to do with Robert the doll. It's a Key West's own enchanted doll.
David Sloan knows all about the hauntings of Key West. He wrote Ghosts of Key West and started Key West Ghost Tours.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, once again, if you have cameras, do take pictures of this house behind me. We have a lot of positive forces going on in this house. We have a lot of orbs that float around this house.
The story starts here at the home of Gene Otto. In the early 1900s, at the age of 4, he was presented Robert.
The doll was given to Jean by a Bahamian girl, and they think that she put some type of voodoo spell on it. And the doll took a bizarre effect on Gene. And everywhere he went, whenever he got in trouble for things as a child, he said, I didn't do it, Robert did it. And he blamed the doll. And this went on for his entire life.
Gene married Anne, and they continued to live in his childhood home. He also continued to be influenced by the doll.
Some people said that he was abusive towards her. And when he was confronted with his abuse, he'd say, I didn't do it, Robert did it.
Gene passed away, but some say that Robert's spirit lived on. Anne, who hated the doll, chose to lease their home rather than remain there, leaving the doll and the house forever. Or so she thought.
In the lease, there was a clause that said, Robert must remain the sole occupant of the attic room. And that's when weird things started happening. There were some people who rented the house out, and they'd hear moving around upstairs. They'd hear footsteps running back and forth, things moving around. They'd go up into the attic, and they'd find Robert had moved from one side of the room to the other.
After Anne died, it was this old fort, now the East Martello Museum, which would become the next home for Robert. The allegedly haunted garrison from the Civil War times seemed like the perfect home.
I wonder if, because it was put on there that the doll was supposed to stay in the attic room, could that be part of the problem, that it being in the museum? They're saying that it's haunting the museum is because it's supposed to actually be in that house still.
for such a haunted doll.
I get very nervous at times. There's times I hear, I see shadows. Just you'll hear a slam every now and then. When I'm walking sometimes I'll hear footsteps behind me.
Goody Estevez is a docent at the museum. Every morning she opens the museum and makes her presence known to the spirits who live there.
When I come in the front door, I call out and I say, okay, I'm here and I'm going to take over the fort and I'm going to watch it for you.
But one thing she won't do is touch him.
Just his aura about him, it's hard to explain. I won't touch him.
It is said Robert doesn't like to be touched.
The first time I was here taking photos of Robert, and I thought I want to get one without his hat on his head. As soon as I leaned up to move the hat, you could feel it went from a simple looking doll to where, boom, you could see life come into it. You could see life come into his eyes, and you could tell he did not want me touching his hat. I moved the hat, I tried to take the photo, the camera would not work. Snap, snap, it's doing nothing. I set the camera down, put his hat back on his head, camera went off 4 times.
Problems with electronic equipment have become a common occurrence around Robert. Naturally, everyone who visits wants a photo of Robert, but that can prove a difficult task. Like the visitor from Idaho who took pictures around the museum. He claimed when he got back home that every single picture on the roll was of Robert.
See if he'll be receptive to us.
David occasionally works with paranormal investigators who use various recording devices to pick up energy, orbs around the doll, even odd noises, which are a common occurrence at the fort. Strange, unexplained noises, like this one, caught on tape by a paranormal investigator just a year ago.
Is anybody here? Hello? Hello? Anybody here?
Are a regular experience for Goody.
A lot of people talk about feeling a very negative heat energy around him. Other people claim to see him move within the case, change positions all on his own.
Because of all the supernatural activity.
I agree. I'd still like to go to that museum, though. That would be so cool.
Goody is now documenting these strange events.
I take the journal only because there's so many different people that come in here and they all have stories. So I started writing things down, the happenings that go on around here. And it's getting thick.
The greatest amount of strange activity happens annually in October, when the doll is sent to another museum in town called the Custom House for display.
I think that it's a fort that's unhappy when Robert's not here. When he leaves, chaos seems like it just goes haywire around here. I've been physically pushed. The cat, he walks around sometimes howling, and it's hard to explain the things that go on. But when I can't take it anymore, I call over to the Custom House and I say, okay, let's get Robert back here. Whatever is here, it makes them happy. Get Robert back.
Goody has come to terms with the spirits that live here. Little surprises her now. Even the time she opened the museum to find a chair in front of Robert's case.
I don't think it's Gene coming back for the doll. I think Robert has a very unique spirit. There's a lot of cases where different objects are haunted. They say, be careful of the objects you possess, or one day they might end up possessing you. And that seems to be the case with Robert.
That would be so cool. That would be so cool. Okay, next we're going to hear from oh, I can't spell. Okay, next we're going to go to A&E.
is going to pull up. In some cases, he will do that.
I keep thinking I'm like 6 foot, but I'm still only 5'9".
Look, that can be around. You're going to put him on the rack and stretch you.
Robert was owned by this artist named Robert Eugene Otto. And Robert was given to this guy by a woman who worked for the family who supposedly was a voodoo practitioner. So Robert has reportedly thrown his pet lion at caretakers here.
Really?
But look here, we'll read the write-up. Visitors to the house claimed they heard unexplained giggling noises emanating from the room where Robert was stored. Stories also circulated. The doll moved itself around the room. It was said that young Gene would shift blame when he misbehaved as a child, pointing to the doll saying, "I didn't do it, Robert did it." You farted in front of Robert. You bro. It's like spitting on him.
Farts.
Robert doesn't. Sorry, Robert.
Sorry, pardon.
All right, I'm sorry. Somebody like Ozzy Osbourne just does not do that. Okay. Sorry. He pooted. All right, so SNYDS. That last one didn't really give us much. Didn't really give us much new information, but the fact that it had Ozzy Osbourne tooting, I just had to leave that in there. How do you spell that? SNYDS. Yes, at least he apologized. All right, now I gotta present it. Show screen, please. This says meeting Robert the doll at Fort East Martello Museum. From what I gather, they moved the doll around the museum. I skipped the boring part in the beginning where they were driving up to the museum.
We are at the Far East, or Fort East Martello Museum, located right next to the ocean over there. And this is where Robert the doll resides. And before we head in, so Robert the doll, he was given to a child in 1906. And as I said, he is cursed, and he is the, he basically made the creation of Chucky from Child's Play. That's based solely off of this doll. So it's pretty big, he's kind of a big deal. Why don't you want to be in here? I feel like she believes in it. These chimes and this guy right here makes it a little creepy in here. By the way, if you're active duty military guys, this place is free and it is only active duty. If you're retired, you have a discount. But yeah, if you're active duty, you can't get in here for active duty and your spouse. So our tickets are free. So an interesting fact about this fort is this is the only.
So if you're retired, your family gets in free? We gotta go to Florida. Take Butch and go to Florida. There's a museum over in Wichita that between Memorial Day and Labor Day, military families get in free.
Only place in the South which was held by the Union. Confederates, they never took ownership of this Key West. It was always held by the Union. So this is a Union fort, but the gentleman was telling us before we came in here on our self-guided tour that everything was actually built by slaves. So there's some irony into that. Looking at some artifacts over here. Robert's on the other side of this little pillar, down a couple ways, and they have a eerie music playing right now. He creeped out. Little petrified wood canoe. Pretty neat. So it is a Saturday, and we're the only family in here right now, which makes it a little more creepy. And it is Saturday, so it's kind of weird. I guess not too many locals come out at this time. But it's just some more little doll houses. Very detailed in there as well. A little baby bassinet back in the day. A little rocker. Here's a old-time hearse. And just beyond that way is Mr. Robert himself, Robert the doll, the artist's house. So Robert, he was the one, he was the child that was given the doll, and he named him after himself. So Robert, thank you for letting us visit you this sunny morning in Key West. If you guys come to pay a visit to him, remember, you need to ask Robert's permission before you take his photo, or he could put a curse on you. The boy and his doll. And then on the screen right here is all the sorry letters written to Robert and thanking him. So one right here says, "I am so very sorry for taking your picture during my visit." And he has some weird stuff happen to him. So if you guys do visit and do happen to bother Robert, you could write him at 3501 South Roosevelt Boulevard. Alright, so now I'm going to be asking Robert for permission to take his picture. The case is locked for Robert security. Please do not touch or put anything on top of the display. There you go. Thank you. Request permission to go ahead and take a picture and video with you. Okay. Okay. You ready? Ready. Alright, thank you, Robert. You have a good one, mister. So the only people that actually met Robert were myself, my dad, and my brother. Heather, Bryson, they didn't get to meet him. And the other two didn't decide to meet him either, but it's alright. I got to meet him. You can still hear the creepy music in the back. But poor Robert back there by himself. So I'm sure he likes getting visitations. Just remember, ask for his permission before he takes a picture.
So that's cool. I wonder what he does to you if you don't ask. Okay, so, I mean, okay. I'm going to rewind and pause on the apology note. It might say why they're sending an apology. Oh, yeah, it might. I guess I could. Well, I already deleted that page, but I didn't even think to look at that. Okay, this is from the Echo Travel Adventures, and it says, "Join us on another adventure as we head back to tell the story of the most haunted doll in the world, Robert the Doll, located at the East Martello Fort Museum in Key West, Florida. This doll has a very long history and a lot of misinformation regarding the doll. We wanted to set the record straight. Enjoy this documentary on Robert the Doll. All right. I already scooted through 6-7 minutes of the boring stuff that only has to do with like the town and things like this. And this is talking about the first teddy bear. I can back it up just a little bit and it'll tell you about the first teddy bear.
Dogs, cats, hares, and giraffes. In 1902, the first teddy bear was created. These teddy bears had movable arms and legs. In 1906, the teddy bear took off in the United States.
George the Bear.
Robert the Doll stands 40 inches and is stuffed with woven straw, also known as wood wool or Excelsior stuffing.
Robert the Doll arrived in Key West in 1904. He was not created by an angry servant. He was made by the Steiff Company in Germany. And Germany was actually Prussia at the time. And the Otto family, Otto, German name, they were German and English. So Jean's mother was over in Prussia, and that's when she got the doll. 1904, Steiff invented the teddy bear. And she came back and she gave the doll to Jean when he was just 4 years old. And the doll was originally a clown. And Jean became very bizarrely attached to the doll. He gave it his own name. His real name was Robert Eugene Otto. And from there, the relationship just started.
One of the major beliefs is that the nurse became pregnant with Thomas Otto's child and either miscarried or lost the child shortly after its birth.
The only thing that we have that suggests that there even was a child was that they show up in the 1900 census and they don't show up in the 1905 census. So they were more, and death records weren't really a thing. So like they were alive and then either not here or dead.
I do not believe there's any anger. I don't even believe that Emmeline intentionally transferred her child's spirit into the doll. I could be wrong. But I believe it was the child's own will. When the child passed, I think the child went into the doll on its own. And everything's speculation about Emmeline and Thomas having this affair. But we need to look at all of these possibilities when we're trying to unravel the story of Robert the Doll and in tracing.
So is he saying that the housekeeper was the lady that brought the doll over after her child? Wow. And her child's spirit went into the doll, and then but she didn't know it. Then she gave the doll to the man she was having an affair with, son.
Tracing back the legends, it's a definite possibility.
As said earlier, Robert and Jean were seen constantly together. Servants in the home often would hear Robert and Jean playing and would hear him ask a question and a deep voice answered back. Shortly after this, weird things started happening around the home. If something happened in the playroom, Jean would say, "Robert did it."
So Jean's parents would hear distinct voices coming from the room. They think Jean had friends over, and they'd pop into the room to see who had come by and find that it was just Jean and Robert. Jean used to get in trouble for things that kids would do, but he never took the responsibility on himself. He'd always be heard saying, "I didn't do it. Robert did it." And he'd blame the doll. And this went on for some time. And this really launched the legend of Robert the Doll.
As most kids do, Jean left to go study at the Academy of Fine Arts in Chicago and the Art Students League in New York. After Jean's studies in New York, he moved and traveled Europe, where he developed a personal style. During a trip in Paris, Jean would meet Annette or Anne, Parker, a native to Boston. Annette Parker was studying music in Paris at the time. Anne and Jean married on May 3rd, 1930.
Burn myself.
So they left Paris and they went to New York. And when they were living there, it's kind of interesting. The location where they lived, I'm not sure if it's the same building still or not, but it was used as the Osgood Corporation in the Spider-Man movies. And, but they lived there. And Jean worked at Wanamaker's, selling furniture, selling antiques. He was very into antiques. They collect a lot of them.
There's a lot of uncertainty when it comes to when or how Anne met Robert the Doll. There are unconfirmed reports that Jean...
Oh, hey, I wanted to ask you, did you want my deep freeze down in the basement? Because it's like, we don't use it. It's full of corn on the cob. But if you want it, come get it.
became mentally and verbally abusive toward Anne. Some speculate that there was a lot of jealousy between Jean and Anne.
There are a lot of stories about Jean being abusive towards Anne, and as time goes on, I believe them less and less. Physically abusive, I do not see that in Jean Otto. I do not think he physically abused Anne. I think that's a legend that evolved from other stories. Mentally abusive, there's evidence of that. Some of the stories I've heard were that he liked to have everything in its place, that he took photographs and said, no, listen, you put that here after you dust. It goes just like this. And he had the photographs to show her where things went. I've heard stories firsthand that when he had his art openings up at the East Martello, that he'd have her wait outside and say, you don't come in for 10 minutes after me, because he did not want to share that spotlight. And she was so beautiful, she was so talented that she would take the spotlight. But they also collaborated on things, you know? I mean, they've got several compositions that they copyrighted together. So I think in a sense, maybe he wanted to be the alpha and for her to be the beta. But they still collaborate. He didn't quite.
It looks like he's got black tape over some words on the front of his shirt. Because it says Robert the Doll, but what's it say underneath?
Stifle her to the extent that stories make it out to be. You know, today with that game of telephone, the way things come, it's, oh, he used to beat the hell out of her and lock her away. Jean was not a bad person. He was a talented guy. He was a caring guy. He may have been jealous of her talents.
After Jean's death, the house was left to his sister. Anne would receive nothing in the Jean's last will and testament.
Jean wrote Anne out of the will in his last months. Not completely, but he left her the house and none of the contents. He left all the contents to his sister Mitzvah. So Anne, you know, she was in her early 70s. She would have been able to make a living selling his artwork, selling the antiques they had collected. They had some great antiques they had collected throughout their lives, and she had none of that available. So she sold the house for $50,000.
Myrtle Reuter purchased the artist house in 1974. She would later find Robert in the attic. She would quickly become Robert's companion and would take him with her to her new home 6 years later. In 1994, she would donate Robert the Doll to the Fort East Martello Museum. She claimed that Robert would move around and it was haunted. Robert did not go on display after being donated.
I actually spoke with their neighbor, and he did not like talking about Robert the Doll. He felt that this doll stole the legacy of his friends.
Like she was going
two talented people, Jean and Anne both, who have been overshadowed by a doll. When I did get him to talk about it, it was for about 30 seconds. And he said when he bought the house, I asked him, I said, well, was that doll here? And he said, oh yeah. He goes, he was in a cedar chest in the second floor. And I said to Anne, oh, does Robert come with the house? And she said, I hate that fucking doll. It was Jean's best friend. Of course, he never could make any friends of his own. But that's the one confirmation that we have. And, you know, as far as what the adult relationship was like, we've got the legends. And what I find with legends, there's always a nugget of truth. You know, they usually stem from something. but they do get exaggerated through the years. I don't think Jean was going grocery shopping with Robert the doll. You know, it wasn't like that. Enough that Anne would make comment about it when she sold the house.
The staff of the museum would see Robert in different areas of the museum. One story comes from a staff member who said the doll would knock on his display. The staff member would say the knocking would stop and continue on demand. Robert the doll is now on display in the East Martello Fort. Visitors come from all over the world to meet him. Some come with negative intent and think the legend of Robert is false. Shortly after, these people have something happen to them. In these cases,
Dear Robert, I loved visiting you. There was so many cool and interesting things at your museum, but you were the best exhibit out of everything. You were so cool. I've always wanted to see you in real life. I'm such a big fan. I have Robert everything. I have a t-shirt, a postcard, a bunch of pictures, and a Robert doll. By the way, thank you so much for letting me take your picture. I have a lot of respect for you, but some people don't, and they deserve the bad things that happen to them. Your biggest fan, Psyche. It's you, Robert. How cool is that?
Robert is to blame.
Dear Robert, I visited you a little over a month ago, and I never asked you if I could take your picture. And let me tell you, you've definitely made me regret that. The day after I returned home from Florida, a little less than a week after I visited you, I got my first speeding ticket, which ended up taking a month to get paid because they supposedly lost the ticket, and then I've been having problems after problem with my car. It's gotten to the point where it's not really even logical to keep fixing it. So basically what I'm trying to say is that I'm sincerely sorry for not asking before I took your picture, and that was very rude of me, and you definitely have made me learn my lesson. I hope to visit you again soon, and trust me, I will for sure ask before taking your picture. Sincerely, P.S. I'm so sorry. Okay.
Blame. The museum receives countless letters from people apologizing.
Dear Robert, I'm very sorry for not asking your permission to take your picture while visiting the museum last week. Since I've taken your picture without permission, many strange things have happened to me. While driving back from the Keys, a deer ran out in front of our car. We had to swerve to avoid hitting it and ran off the road. We almost hit a tree. 2 days later, we had a small kitchen fire. Also, we have been hearing childlike giggles coming from our basement. Last night, I was home alone, heard a voice coming from the basement, and when I went to investigate, I tripped and fell down the bottom 3 stairs. I got up, ran out the door, and was locked. Ran out, but the door was locked. My husband said that I probably turned the lock myself without even thinking about it, and it locked myself in the basement. But honestly, Robert, we both know the truth. Please accept my deepest apology for taking your picture without asking. Also, please accept my daughter's apology for sticking out her tongue at you and making fun of you. Sincerely, Rosie.
Apologizing for any wrongdoing and to end the torment. Robert is often thought to be the inspiration of Chucky. Chucky is not the inspiration of Chucky. Child's Play creator and co-writer Don Mancini explained that Chucky draws heavily from the My Buddy dolls. He said that, quote, in my original script, he was originally called Buddy, and we couldn't use it because of the My Buddy doll. The director went out and got a My Buddy doll, a Raggedy Ann, a Raggedy Andy, and one of those life-size baby infants. What I told Kevin Yeager was, I wanted something similar to My Buddy doll. I described Buddy in my original script, not Chucky, as wearing rebutton overalls, red sneakers, striped sweater with red hair, blue eyes, and freckles. Kevin went off and sketched many designs of Chucky, until the final was picked. Yeager then built the first doll from those sketches and my details.
Robert the doll was not inspired by Chucky, or Chucky wasn't inspired by Robert. Don Mancini does state, he says, I was inspired by the My Buddy doll and blatant consumerism. You know, there's legends which stem from truth, and then there's lies. And Robert inspiring Chucky, it's a flat out lie. And someone made it up one day, and it stuck, and people like it. And they want this evil doll who's destroying other people's toys and killing young girls and trying to smother people. It's not Robert. People come into the museum and they want Chucky. And, you know, when they bring that negative energy, they're going to get it. You know, you get what you put out. And there are entities who are willing to do that.
Museum staff have noticed a shift of energies at the East Martello Fort. When Robert was not on display, he started receiving visitors who learned of the museum's new resident. Since he was put on display, people have reported camera and electronic devices malfunction in his presence.
And that goes right into his history of messing with cameras. You know, the first professional photographer they brought in, you know, to take pictures of him, you know, they're like, oh, you know, you got to ask the doll's permission. I'll be damned if I'm going to ask a doll's permission to take its picture. And the pictures worked, just not of the doll. It took an exact backwards of him. So he's clicking this way, and it's writing him out of the lens and taking pictures of the wall behind him.
One of our most popular videos with Robert has multiple messages apologizing to Robert for watching our video. Amber and I believe that if you treat Robert with respect and no ill intent, you'll be fine. This includes watching any video of Robert the doll.
I fully believe there's multiple entities at work with Robert the doll. There's the innocent child, and then there's at least two other dark entities. And they're the ones who will cause problems for people. They'll come beat people up, cause mayhem. And they're not the innocent little child. They're the ones to watch out for.
It's just, it's crazy because he wanted to be known for his paintings.
Yeah.
And now he's known for his doll.
Yeah.
Which is kind of weird, right?
I mean, I can't imagine having your legacy stripped by a doll.
Right.
You worked so hard for.
And, you know, I have no doubt about the relationship between Gene and his doll, but I think the legend has amplified the doll's importance in his life. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I mean, Gene was this great community guy, and he did so much. I mean, he helped form the Key West Art and Historical Society, which runs the fort where he lives. I just uncovered an article that has Gene's vision of the fort. Wow. And to think that he was creating the doll's future home, I don't think he got up and had breakfast with the doll. I don't think he had lunch with the doll. I think the doll was there, and I think he cared for the doll, and I think he loved the doll. Mm-hmm. But I don't think it dominated his life. Right. And
if he lived
for his
with the doll,
whole legacy to be eliminated by a doll, it's interesting.
Right.
And then again, if the doll wasn't there, maybe nobody would be talking about him.
True.
So maybe this is a launching pad. Maybe there's a future legacy.
Right.
I don't know. There are a lot of legends about Robert the doll, and so much of it's
Robert the doll, we appreciate you letting us watch videos about you and learn about your history. Thank you so very much. Just to be on the safe side. Okay, the next one is from Jonathan's Other Adventures. We just got two more, I think, short videos now. But this is a lot of information about this doll. It's amazing. And he really is a cute little doll. I don't know why there's no sound. He's a very cute little doll. Yeah, it did look like his foot moved. Did you see it? I'll back it up. No, I gotta back it up a little further. It looked like the chair rocked a little bit. All right, and this one might get us in trouble, but I don't think it will. It's all part of the learning. Robert, we want to learn about you. We have 110,000 subscribers. Boy, I'd like to just have 1,000. All right.
This dog was shocked what he heard.
Meet Robert the doll, a seemingly innocent toy with a dark history of causing misfortune to those who disrespect him. Gifted to artist Robert Eugene Otto in the early 1900s, the doll is said to have been responsible for strange occurrences and unexplained noises in Otto's home. Legend has it that Robert's eerie influence extended beyond Otto's life, bringing bad luck to those who dared to take photos of him without permission. Now housed at the Fort East Martello Museum in Key West, Florida, Robert the doll receives countless letters from visitors apologizing for their disrespect. Some believe that the doll is haunted by a vengeful spirit or cursed by the original owner's misdeeds. Skeptics, on the other hand, argue that the stories surrounding Robert are merely urban legends fueled by superstition and fear. Meet Robert the doll, a seemingly innocent toy with a dark history of causing misfortune to those who disrespect him. Gifted to artist Robert Eugene Otto in the early 1900s, the doll is said to have been responsible for strange occurrences and unexplained noises in Otto's home.
This dog was shocked what he heard on the voice.
Okay. With that being said, I'm going to turn off this music. Although I love that song. Okay. With that being said, did you find it interesting about that doll? I did. I did. I'd like to go see it. And I'd like to tour the house where it grew up. And So yes. So don't forget, I haven't gotten any recipes yet. Let me put my email address on here. Okay. Oh, I want to make a green team cookbook, and I'd like to have it completed so that sales could start by Christmas. And all the proceeds will go to help Seth with his search for Sebastian, praying Sebastian comes home. Then the money would still go to Seth and the good deeds that Seth has done in searching for Sebastian. Because Sebastian's going to need new clothes because he's grown, and he's going to need some help psychologically to help him get through everything he's been through for the last year and everything. And so whatever Seth needs, I want the proceeds from the Green Team Cookbook. Please send me an email with your recipe and a short story of how you became into true crime or paranormal or whatever your fascination is. Tell us a little bit about you. But please use your screen name unless you want your real name out there, because I don't want to dox anybody. So I would use Get Locker as that's what I'm going to put. And I'm trying. My son asked me to create him a strawberry shortcake cheesecake for his birthday. And I'm going to try to figure that out. And when I figure it out, that recipe will go in the cookbook under desserts. And that will be a baked cheesecake. It will not be a Betty Crocker mix it and chill it type cheesecake. I actually bake the cheesecake, so I make real cheesecakes. All right. Thank you for being here. Anybody you know in the Green Team, please put out there, and you can share my email address, nancy@getlocker.com, or send them over to my page to get my email address and have them send me their recipes. So thank you for being here. Do something nice for someone, even if it's just be the reason they smile, and get lockered. I'll see you tomorrow.